Genius as a trope in shonen is pretty unique, because it pretty much serves as a direct mirror to animal instincts. Where one is based on training and our animal nature, the other is based on luck, talent, and characterized by machine-like efficiency. Neither is more or less Shonen Jump. However, Genius is prime material for conflict in the magazine, as it's so easy for it to be against two of Jump's core mottos, of effort and friendship. It's such good bait, in fact, that the king of deconstruction himself, Nisio Isin, has taken a great interest in it, and wrote a whole Jump manga to explore how such deconstructionist elements play out in Medaka Box. I don't know if he was obsessed with Genius and that got him into Jump, or if he was into Jump and that got him obsessed with Genius. But this quote from him is a good jumping off point into our topic either way.
Being a genius makes you almighty. You feel omnipotent, which means you're almost like a god, all-powerful. In the same way that people argue that there must be a god, natural prodigies must exist in the world too. Though, thinking something might be nice if it existed, and actually wanting it to exist are two deceptively different things. Actually, since knowing this girl, all motivation to work hard and persevere has left me. The will to live has packed its bags. It's the worst thing in the world to find out that someone else has gotten to your destination, the place you're aiming for, before you, and left their footprints all over it. Nisio Isin, after school, 7th class.
Talking about Genius and Shonen is something of a daunting task, because they're like McDonald's. One on every third block: Naruto, Medaka Box, Soul Eater, Sket Dance, Kuroko, Haikyuu, World Trigger, The Promised Neverland, Hunter x Hunter. The list goes on ad infinitum, and those are just the series I can think of off the top of my head that actually use the word directly in dialogue. Genius doesn't just mean that a character is intelligent, at least in this context, although that very well may be the case. There are two distinctive elements that characterize Genius as a trope in shonen manga and anime. One is a character's unnatural or near unnatural proficiency in a given area given their level of practice. The second element is that the Genius character is used to establish a dynamic between the hardworking normals and the talented. This can be for character development or power scaling, usually both. Feelings of envy and inadequacy can boil up. The pressure of expectations can break even the strongest of people. Questions of fate and fairness crop up. An endless supply of spicy, resonant drama. A famous example of the hard worker versus genius rivalry is Neji Hyuga and Rock Lee. However, the genius hard worker dynamic doesn't always have to be a rival affair, although that's certainly effective. An interesting way this was done was in a now defunct Jumpstart manga called Momiji no Kitetsu, which was a shogi manga. The talentless hard worker was the protagonist, Momiji Kuramachi. His older brother Sakura was framed as the genius shogi player. The chapter 1 twist was that Sakura died from a chronic disease during his finals game, and Momiji decided to take up his will and playstyle and achieve the rank of Dragon King in his stead. The setup was particularly effective because Momiji had to reconcile both not having his brother's talent or having his brother. But that's me getting a bit ahead of myself in how it's used as a trope. So let's just dive into that topic. Something that will always come up with the use of this trope in shonen is an issue will be keeping the genius from reaching their full potential. This makes perfect sense, since you have to have some conflict after all. Like the example I just presented, it can be a physical impairment like a disease. Another more extreme way of limiting a genius is through removing one of their senses, like sight. Take for example the blind Gunji master, Komugi, of Hunter x Hunter. You can also limit a genius with societal prejudice, like with Neji from Naruto. By far, the most common way a genius is limited is through their own personality and or neuroticisms.
ダメだどうしてもKの位置がずれてしまう俺は脳なしのクズだコンビダメできそうないだからKの字に目を離されるんだあ
The point is, humans have a very intuitive understanding of equivalent exchange. With great power comes great responsibility. With amazing skills comes vicious eyes of all kinds. Let's take a look at some of my favorite examples of this trope, a hero and a villain respectively. Death the Kid from Soul Eater and Shigaraki Tomura from My Hero Academia. Death the Kid has to work to overcome his OCD disorder, which activates when things aren't symmetrical, but is also the son of Death himself, and is a meister that few can even come close to approaching, even for his age. With Shigaraki Tomura, it can be easy to forget, especially early on, that he has a genius level IQ, an eye for analysis. While described in universe as having the mental state of a man-child, he has gone from being completely unable to keep his cool at the slightest signs of his plans going awry, and being too habitual to properly lead the League of Villains, to becoming a legitimate threat in the manga, with minimal guidance from All for One. Genius is also used to demonstrate the variety of ways moral degradation can set in, from arrogance to loss of empathy or passion, just being unable to cope with the fact that you're so different from everyone, and in some cases are a dangerous weapon because this is the case. Aomine of Kuroko no Basket and Bakugo of once again My Hero Academia provide a very similar yet nuanced takes in this department. Both characters are similar in that they had a clear direction in life and made strides in their respective fields with the latent talent they possessed. Where they differ is that Bakugo developed an inferiority complex due to the overstimulation of his ego at an early age, Despite being a natural leader, he had no need to develop his communication skills or empathy. With the rise of a rival and his continued failures, he completely cracked. Oceanus has a great video on Bakugo psychology if you want to go more in depth. In contrast, Aomine remained humble in childhood up through middle school due to his pure and honest love for the game. It was only through repeated and easy victories that he was hit by the reality that he had gone too far, too fast for anyone to challenge him. With his love of the game dwarfed by the lack of a challenge from peers, Aomine fell into apathy and the habit of looking down on others. Alexander's tribute to Aomine does the best job of exploring his character compared to anything else on the internet. Not to mention, Aomine along with Shikamaru from Naruto are the peak of the brilliant but lazy trope.
Sometimes I wish I was a cloud, just floating along, going wherever the breeze takes me. That's my style.
And of course, we had the genius for society, perhaps my favorite part about this trope. I'll use the titular Medaka of Medaka Box and the recent Golden Star of My Hero Academia, Hawks, as examples. Medaka has quite a few traits which epitomize the shonen genius, which makes sense given Medaka is the shonen deconstruction manga, unironically. They've got the hyper growth rate, apparently Dragon Ball Z made super babies super popular, ungodly athleticism, off the charts intelligence, being privileged with money and good looks. The list goes on. And all these are pushed to the reality warping extremes. However, as a result, she has many expectations placed upon her by her elite. In addition, because her reason to live is to make people happy, she is also limited by the desires and whims of the masses to an extent. You could say her entire arc is learning how to properly deal with her genius, and balancing everyone's competing needs. Hawks is still a fresh face in the world of Hero Academia, and what we know of him is still limited. However, what we do know of Hawks is that after saving people from an accident, he was scouted and given financial support to become a hero. While thinking back on this, he calls himself the man too fast for his own good, referencing the nickname he got as a hero and revealing the true reason he wants to make a society with no crime, a world where heroes have leisure. Regardless, Hawks and eventually Medaka both at some points wish to live free, and that could be taken as the moral. Despite whether the geniuses wishes to or not, it can be all too easy to force a future or mindset on them that they didn't want, especially on a child who would want nothing more than to have a childhood. In a more general sense, this could also be read as a disconnect in the skills the genius has and the life they wish they had. Talent can be a curse in its own right. Whether that becomes a source of tragedy or comedy is up to the author. The origins of genius. I shall posit 3 theories as to the origins of genius. The first is the will of fate, aka the story says so. They've always had the latent talent for the skill, and whether they make it bloom is up to them. The second is that they arise from necessity. People have to fend for themselves, and the disabled are frequently incapable normally, and thus they must develop some skill to give themselves value according to society, eventually coming to be called genius. Komugi from Hunter x Hunter being born to a poor family, and due to her blindness being unable to contribute normally, developed exceptional Gunji skills, beyond which should even be possible. My final theory on how genius arises is through the tapping into of the general intellect. To provide a quick and simple definition, Marx uses the term to refer to a general social knowledge or collective intelligence of a society at a given historical period. Collective power is needed for humans to accomplish certain things, like building bridges and pyramid. The exact same holds true of a collective intelligence. An idea like this is more relevant than ever, given our infinite access to information via the internet. For example, why go study hard at college to become a writer when some colleges have posted entire courses on YouTube free of charge, and you can watch analysis videos all day long? If I were to identify a genius character that was made in this way, I'd have to give it to Aomine, as it's mentioned that he was always playing basketball with the older adults as a child. It's likely in those games, being taught and coached by all of those adults, he tapped into their collective knowledge of the game, and became a basketball genius. A more recent character who can embody the general intellect more thoroughly is a relative newcomer to Jump, Senku of Dr. Stone, whose superpower is that he has literally all of humanity's scientific knowledge at his disposal inside of his mind. A genius is he who taps into the general intellect, and that certainly seems to be the characterization of Senku. So, to sum up, I think it's best to quote the smartest man ever known, Togashi Yoshihiro. It's amazing how you can enjoy anything as long as there's drama. You don't need to know the rules. That's one of the greatest strengths of storytelling. Thank you for watching. Next time on Shonen Trope Talk, we'll be talking about power and strength absolute. And I'd like to thank all our patrons. I can't tell you how much your support has been motivating us. I feel like our channel is about to hit a stride, and we're going to be pumping out a lot of fire very soon.